What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Gotta Get Back, the Samurai Jack and Review Show. Welcome to the penultimate episode, guys, of the Samurai Jack series. My name is Kyle, your host. Welcome to Project Potter. If you guys haven't seen the show before, we're recapping every episode of Samurai Jack. We're doing a favorite character, a favorite scene, score out of 10, and some trivia. So kicking it off here, guys, for the second to last time with episode 61. We pick off immediately where we left last episode, which is Jack and Ashi just still making out. And so it's funny because they actually pull away and they spit onto the ground. And then they're like wiping their mouth and they're like, it wasn't you, it's the bacteria or whatever. And they're like, no, it's okay. And she's like, there's still a little bit of schmuck left on your face. And she goes and like gently holds his chin and wipes it off. And there's a nice smile. And she's like, oh, I'm still wearing your gi, or I'm still wearing your robe. She goes to take it off and Jack grabs her and he's like, gi, it's a gi. He's like, get it through your head. But no, he's like, obviously he still doesn't want to see her naked. He's still nervous about it. But a light shines in and it's nice. And they're just like really happy. They're looking at each other. There's a really cute moment where they both just stare at each other for a moment and say nothing. And she's like, well, I better go find some clothes. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I'll meet you outside. She's like, okay, good. And then he's like, bye. And she goes around the corner. And then it's really cute because she comes back and she goes, bye. Like she comes back in for one more bye. And so Jack walks outside. He takes a deep breath and he looks really calm. He hears like a little drip around the way, and there's like one little drop of water around the way. So Jack goes to investigate that. Ashi's like, where am I going to find some clothes? And she's like in this alien spaceship, and she starts walking around. And I get that she's looking for clothes, but I was also just like, maybe get out of this spaceship where you just fought like a regenerating super boss. Maybe not mess around with a spaceship because you could get locked in there or something, or trigger like another alien or something. So, but she finds these clothes. She's like, this will do. So she changes into those. It's like a jumpsuit basically. It looks like some Star Trek clothes or whatever. And she comes around and Jack like was able to like open up the spout or whatever. So it's like pouring water now. So he's taking a shower. He sees him and she leaves his clothes there, and he looks and he's like, oh, that's nice. So he puts it on. He's got his gi back on. He looks in the reflection and we see bearded Jack, and he's like, be careful. He's like, I know this has never happened before, which means like he's never been in love before. And Jack is like, I don't know what I'm going to do or whatever. And he contemplates it, but it's nighttime now and there's a fire. And Ashi sits down and she's like, I got food. And it's like this creature. And Jack is like, me too. And they've caught like the same type of animal. And so they eat each other's food, and it's both like, it's kind of gross, and they're chewing it and they're looking apart and they don't want to say anything. She says like, a little chewy. He's like, yes. He's like, but it's still good. Like, because he doesn't want to insult Ashi, so it's really cute. They kind of talk to each other, and Jack tells her a story about how, the world used to be so beautiful and, peaceful before Aku destroyed it. But he's like, that's why we got to take down Aku. She goes to sleep there. We then cut to Scaramucci, who's got this little slug, like little octopus body now. And he's like going along, and he finally comes up to Aku's place, the Pit of Hate. And there's like now a big, like basically drive through like Aku statue, because Aku is just so tired of people coming up. And it plays a recording where it's like, I'm not taking appointments at this time. I'm so sorry for the inconvenience. Like, please turn around or whatever. And Scaramucci's like, no, baby. He's like, I've come too far for this, baby. And he's like, I'm good thing I know the ins and outs. And he climbs up the side, and there's like an opening for the Pit of Hate on the side, which seems like a security alert. But Scaramucci goes in there and he's like, Aku, baby. And Aku's like, go away. He's like, didn't you hear the recording? He's like, I got some information for you. And Aku rises up, and he's got that like glazed look, and he's like, what could you possibly have to tell me? And he's like, Samurai Jack has lost his sword. And he's like, you're sure? And he like pushes down on his head, and he's squirming. And he's like, yes, 100% sure. And he's like, this is excellent news. And he gives Scaramucci back his body, and they're both dancing. And then we cut to the morning, and Jack has left, and Jack is walking away. He's got like a determined look on his face, but it's sad because like he's getting so close to Ashi, and we find out why he leaves in a little bit here. But he's walking through. There's one really bad shot where there's like a hill, and he goes down, and it looks like he literally just like lags onto the next set. Really, really surprised that things like that got into season 5 there. But anyway, Jack is going through, and he's going through like this giant this wasteland with like these giant creatures, and I think this is where he fought Mondobot, but I'm not sure. There's not really like a like specific reference, but it kind of looks like that. But he's going through, and then eventually Ashi's like right behind him, and he's like, "You shouldn't have followed me." And she's like, "Why, Jack?" She's like, "Why did you just leave?" And he's like, "You won't understand." And she's like, "Well, help me understand." And he's like, "You don't understand. Aku has destroyed everything I've ever loved." He's like, "They're all just memories now." And Ashi is like, "Oh, damn." But she's like, "Oh, that's so sweet." And he's like, I don't want you to become another memory." But then I was thinking like, that's sweet, Jack. But I was also like, but if you just leave her, she's going to be a memory anyway because you won't be with Ashi. So it was kind of like, it's a lose-lose for you, Jack. But Aku shows up, and Jack, of course, with this classic Aku. And Scaramucci's there, and he's got his body back. And he's like, a little birdie. He's like, I know what you're thinking. Like, why do I come up now? Why are we meeting for the first time like 50 years now? And he's like, well, little birdie told me something. And Scaramucci shows up, and he's like, Samurai Jack has lost his sword, baby. And then Jack is like, you mean this sword? He should have said something, but he just literally takes his sword out. And Aku is like, whoa, and he backs up. And then he looks at Scaramucci and just blows him up. He's like, dude. And so Jack starts running at him. He's like, all right, well, he's like, forget this happened. He's like, I'm going to leave you and your little lady friend. Talk to you later. Because Aku was like, dude, I still don't know how to defeat the magic sword, and you got it back. And he's like, time to go back into hiding. But Jack starts running at him like he always does. And Aku's like, wait a minute, time out. He's like, I smell something. And he's like, I smell me. And I was like, okay, that's weird. But basically he can tell that she's a daughter of Aku, and he smells the sword. So Jack like runs at him and swipes, and he just creates like the hole so that Jack goes through him, and he's kind of like ignoring Jack, and he goes over to Ashi, and he smells Ashi, and he's like, wait a minute. He's like, oh, there was that one time. And we get a flashback where Aku goes over in person to see like the daughters of Aku, or like a whole bunch of different high priestesses, and they're like bowing to him, and he's like, oh, not bad. He's like, this kind of looks like me for the altar there. And then he's like, here you go, worship me. And he pours some of himself into the goblet. And then he's like, oh, so she must have drank it. And so we see the high priestess literally like drinking Aku, and he's like, and then we see the scene of her giving birth to the 7 daughters. So he's like, I see. He's like, a true daughter of Aku. And then Ashi starts attacking Jack. It's really cool because her face is like concerned, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Because Jack is running at Aku, and it's like Ashi's sword that stops him. And she's like, I'm sorry, this isn't me. And she's like, I can't control anything I'm doing. And so there's like a fight where, she's running around and she's swinging at Jack, but her face is concerned the whole time. And Aku's standing there, and he's talking to like an old dead guardian where he's like, you try to raise them right, but he's like, then she goes off and runs off and joins up with your mortal enemy. He's like, what's a father to do? So that was funny, but yeah, poor Ashi's like, Jack, I'm so sorry. And she's like coming at him, and she's got like super strength basically. And Jack is like, Ashi, you have to fight it. You have to fight it. And she's like, I can't do it. She's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I know you can. You have to fight it. And so Aku is like, this is boring. And he throws like a giant robot on them, like a statue, and like they kind of avoid it. But Ashi's standing there, and Aku comes up behind her. And he's like, sweetheart, you have to use your full powers to take down the samurai. And he's like, allow me to show you. And he like activates his eyes. And then this is where we get this full like evil Ashi, basically, where she becomes the black like runs through her, up through like her legs, and it like consumes her. And she's like, no, and it's really, really cool. But basically Aku has like tapped into her secret powers, and she's got like full evil, and she gets this flaming sword, and it's really awesome. And now she's like kind of like a spider. She's shape-shifting a little bit, and she's super fast and coming after Jack. And Jack is like, Ashi. And so he obviously doesn't want to hurt her, but eventually he does kind of like break her blade, and he gets a little bit of her with the sword, and it cuts her, and so it like reveals her face for a second. And she's like, Jack, you need to kill me. She's like, you have to kill me to take down Aku. And he's like, what? I can't do that. And so Aku kind of regains control, and her face gets covered again. It's crazy because she's like, Jack, you need to kill me now. And it's like, it's crazy because obviously Jack loves this girl now. And Jack is sitting there and he's worried and he's like, I can't. And he puts the sword down. And right when she's going to like go attack him, Aku is like, stop. And then she takes the sword and she raises the sword, and Aku finally has like the sword, even though he's had it. And I thought this was a huge moment, and it is, but we already had an episode where where Aku had the sword, remember, when he fought the zombies. And then we found out that Aku couldn't use it because he tried to kill Jack with it. But he's still able to take the sword from Jack. So that is a win, and Jack is defeated, and he knows he can't defeat Ashi now, as he's in love with her. So the episode kind of ends like similar to like Empire Strikes Back, where it's like doom and gloom. Jack is there, and Aku is like got like the sword, and he looks like he's got victory, and he's got Ashi as like his like henchman now, or henchwoman, and that's how the episode ends, and Jack's in a tough spot for the series finale. Okay, guys, magic sword for this one, it goes to Aku, dude. Aku, he's just, man, he's so powerful. It's crazy because he's got a trump card up his sleeve, where it's like he shows up, he thinks Jack doesn't have the sword. He finds out he does have the sword. Instantly, he's like, Scaramucci, you're dead to me. But then he's like, I'm just going to retreat back. But just the fact that Jack is like charging at him and he's like toying with him, where he's like, wait. And the fact that he's like, I can smell more of me. Like he can smell his essence in Ashi is really cool. And the fact that he's just like, oh, I can just untap your power. Like he's like, basically here is Aku, and he knows that Jack cares for her, so he can't, he doesn't want to fight her. So it's cool because it's not just another like robot under Aku's control. It's like, no, this is someone Jack actually cares for, and so Jack has to make a decision. But he knows Ashi isn't innocent, so Aku kind of has like the ultimate trump card here. But Aku gets the magic sword for this week. Okay, guys, portal in time for this week is the scene behind me where Ashi turns into evil Ashi, or Aku turns her into that, I should say. It's super, super cool. Her sword too like lights up, flaming like the Aku eyes, and it's just like all of her moves. She's super quick now, and she runs in and she's like attacking the ground super fast. It's crazy. And I also really like the scene where she's attacking Jack, but she's like, I'm so sorry, I'm not controlling this. Like that was cool too. But her transformation is awesome, and it's a really cool design. I like that they didn't give her like a mouth or anything. They try to like dehumanize her and just show that she's completely under Aku's control. So that scene where she transforms is my portal in time for this week. Okay, guys, the score for this one, I'm going to give it a 9.1. I really like that Aku turned the tides on Jack, and Aku is usually getting outsmarted by Jack. But this time he's about to give up, and he's like, all right, I'm going to go and hiding again. And, Jack's just going to keep going. And we don't think that Jack can get back to the past at this point. So he even if he defeats Aku, he's still stuck in the future. But whether that changes the past, we don't know. But the fact that Jack finally falls in love with this girl, he decides that he's like, hey, I need to go. Like, I can't have you be another memory. I like that idea, but then the fact that Jack was just going to walk away and leave her, so she would have been a memory anyway, was kind of confusing to me. Like, I like the idea, but it's like, well, you can't give up on Ashi because she's going to be a memory. So his idea was cool, but the reasoning I didn't really agree with. But yeah, I mean, when Aku is like, hey, that's my daughter, and he can just like boom and turn her into like a super soldier, basically. So cool. It's just a good episode, and the fact that Jack can't fight back because he's got feelings now reminds me of like the Jedi, where they try to be devoid of all feelings. But it's just I don't know, Jack's in a tough spot, and obviously the series finale is coming up next, and I pretty much remember what happens, but it's also just like, this is a decent twist where it's like, Aku's kind of got him where he's like, you can fight back. We have to kill the woman you love. We don't know how much time Jack and Ashi have spent together. It could have been months. It could have been days. Who knows? Time is kind of like, we don't know at this point. It seems like they just met, but also, maybe they've been traveling for a while. They've been crossing all these different planes. So I'm sure they've spent like a good amount of time together. And it's just, obviously there's a real love connection there. So we'll see what happens in the series finale, but this is a pretty good setup, and I like the twist at the end where it seems like Jack is like defeated and hopeless, and it's like, wow, it's kind of a cliffhanger for what's going to happen next week. Okay, guys, Jack facts for this week. for the second to last time. So this episode, it's confirmed that Aku has indeed destroyed all the time portals in the world, and also the Guardian, which was the guy who was guarding that time portal. I must have missed this part because the Guardian was awesome. And I don't know if Aku just said that or if he just said like, oh, I took out that pesky Guardian or something, but that guy was awesome. If you remember, guys, that was like the fake foreshadowing where like, he's like, you can use this portal, but not yet, samurai. And it showed like Jack with a beard and like Spartan, not Spartan, but like this awesome armor. But then that was like something that they put in there, but then it never comes to fruition. So it's kind of weird. But yeah, this is like Aku confirming that there's 100% no portals. Again, I must have missed that line because I don't remember that in the episode, but it's just cool to like know that was the last one. Although last episode they said that with the Ram. So I don't know why they're like repeating things, but I guess it's just to double confirm it. I don't know. So this episode does reveal that Ashi is a literal daughter of Aku and not just a figurative title or like a worshipping thing because of this literal power that went to the goblet. She drank it. So, I mean, because we saw her give birth in that, I think the pilot episode, I believe that. So I don't know. Some of these things that are being confirmed, it's kind of like, the audience could have figured that out on its own. So I'm a little disappointed in the way these are being revealed or confirmed, but I don't know. It's still, I guess, a confirmation. This is the first time in the series that Jack has surrendered to Aku, which is kind of like, I guess, I mean, he does surrender when his sword is taken. I guess he's running from Aku and then he gets captured, but he kind of like knows that he's about to die because he forgets that the sword can only be used by someone pure. So I guess he doesn't really give up there, but kind of. But yeah, this is the first time where he could keep fighting. He's just like, I can't. So that is a cool little bit there. This is Scaramucci's last appearance, of course, because he gets blown up by Aku after poor Scaramucci tries so hard to get there, and he's like, he could have sworn Jack lost his sword. And then obviously between that time that Scaramucci found out that he lost his sword, Jack gets it back. So he's like, here you go, baby. And Aku is just like, I got some great news. And then he's like, Scaramucci, you son of a bitch. And he just blows him up. So I really liked it, how his arc kind of ended like that. And he just blows up and it's like all that for nothing. I guess we also find out that Jack was 8 years old when Aku destroyed his land. So that was when Jack tells the story to Ashi over the fire. And this episode is also the first to not show any previews for the final episode. Instead, it shows clips of the previous episodes for the final preview. So I don't get these in the Blu-ray, of course, but it is cool that they usually show a preview for next week. And for the series finale, they're like, we're not going to tell you how it happens. So that was a cool, and we don't know how the series finale is going to end. So I like that they made that choice. And this is the final episode, guys, where the episode ends with, I didn't know it was will.i.am that did that. will.i.am rapping, Gotta Get Back to the Past. So classic ending that most Samurai Jack episodes end with. This is the final episode for that. So I don't remember how the finale completely ends, but not like that, apparently. So yeah, with that being said, guys, that is our penultimate Jack Facts for this week. All right, guys. Well, that's it. That is the second to last episode, the penultimate episode of Gotta Get Back. Next week is the series finale, guys. So next week will be the final episode. We're gonna have some special segments in there, of course, to kind of recap the series and of course the episode itself. Thanks for checking out Project Potter, guys. Thanks for checking out Gotta Get Back. Like, comment, subscribe. Go check out the other content on the channel. Ring that bell notification, and we'll see you guys for the series finale next week. And until next week, gotta get back.